There we go. It's not playing the sound. Oh, well. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Um, to the episode 8, no, episode 9, actually, of the Writers Lounge podcast. Today we're joined by Lisa Marie. Lisa Marie is a very creative person in multiple fields, including songwriting, books, and I'm sure that that's probably not going to be limited to those areas either in the future. So we have a lot available to ask about, and it should be a really interesting episode. Lisa, I guess usually the question that I always start with anyway is, where referring to the creative spark, the original creative spark. So we all have to write, um,
Hmm.
and some of us have to do music in school. Uh, and so I guess in both of your fields, like there's a point in a child or young adults or even older adults' life where they decide to start creating purely for personal fulfillment and enjoyment, when it's no longer a cursory thing that somebody's directing you to do. And there's kind of, it seems like most people have a moment or a time in which they remember, yeah, that's when that happened. Would you be able to point to a specific time when that occurred for you?
When I knew that I was going to be a writer, you're saying?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Well, I know that I was born with a very creative mind. And when I was very young, growing up in Jersey, I remember maybe about 7, 8 years old, I used to always want to, when I first started writing and learning how to write, I mean, I was too young to put stories together and all of that, but I just used to like write things down. I started out with poetry actually. I didn't even know what I was writing about actually. I just knew that I had to get this stuff out of my head that I was thinking about. So I just used to write stuff down on paper all the time, and I spent more time in my bedroom writing than I did outside playing with my friends. So I knew that down the line, this is probably something that I was going to pursue as I got older. As far as songwriting is concerned, that didn't come till years later, till I was an adult. But as far as writing is concerned, I absolutely know in my mind that I was blessed to do this with my life. I'm just sorry it took so long for me to get my first book out, but I just remember at a young age doing this, writing and writing stuff down that I really wanted to talk about and possibly put into books,
Hmm.
make a story out of.
Well, what inspired you to go? Because I've been following you on Facebook for a while, and you're a singer-songwriter. But what inspired you to go from that to writing a book? What was that inspiration to finally do that?
Well, I knew somewhere down the line I wanted to be a writer. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I didn't know I was going to be a songwriter,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of this has to do with my faith also because I I started out writing. I got into poetry when I was in my teenage years, and then I started doing that again. Then I basically took a break and I didn't write for a while. And I started then I got into songwriting back in about 2015, 16, I think it was. I started getting into songwriting. And then I started writing all of that. And I did wonder at times, like, when am I going to get back into writing stories again? I have a notebook full of stories that I wrote years ago when I was a kid
Mm-hmm.
that I want to make novels out of them that I wrote as I was growing up over the years. And I have some really good stories too. I have
Mm-hmm.
some really good stuff that could be good books and all fiction, a lot of it.
Right.
And so it was basically my book was released in October of 24.
Mm-hmm.
Right before that, a friend of mine who has his own publishing company contacted me,
Mm-hmm.
and I had really didn't think about it. I have a story, the Christmas story. I wrote that a couple years ago, put it on the side, said, when I get time, I'll do it. You know how that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I get time, I'll get to it. I'll work on it. But he contacted me and said, listen, I'm looking for people that want to publish things. I'm like, all right, this might be my time to do it. Like God is telling me something. He's like, this is what you wanted to do your whole life. Now is the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I made the decision that this is the time for me to do this. And now, once you start, there's no stopping it.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about this. This is your first debut book, The Christmas Stranger, right? It's available on
Yeah.
Amazon and on Kindle. Could you tell us what it's about? Give us, without giving us the ending, but give us an overview of what it's about, maybe, and um, promote yourself a little bit with it.
Well, if nobody's read it yet, it's a short story, so don't think it's a big long novel because it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's my first book. I wanted to put this out and see how it did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about a woman that has a handicapped child, and her husband passed away, and she is stuck in her house during a winter snowstorm, and she meets someone, and it's basically about the book is about a Christmas miracle that she received. Her and her daughter received a Christmas miracle at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the story. So I can't say anymore because
Right.
Mhm.
that's giving the whole thing away.
Yeah.
But that's basically what it's about. And it's a heartwarming story. I wanted it to
Mm-hmm.
be something that would be good for children also, because actually a couple of friends of mine and
Mm-hmm.
somebody I know here bought two of my books for their two 12, I think he's 12 and
Mm-hmm.
11-year-old kids for Christmas, and they read it, and he said they absolutely loved it, and they can't wait till my next book comes out. So I really want to
There you.
try to be in between. I want to try
Mm-hmm.
to get with the adults and like the teenagers and the young kids, because that those are the ones that really need to hear stuff like this.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gave a review on it saying that I could see this book being like a ABC movie
I
or
saw
something,
that.
like over Christmas time or something. So it's good. It's definitely
Thank you.
inspirational. And so, do you have a spot though, or a place that you are inspired to write, like where your creativity comes? Do you have a creativity
Uh,
zone?
Well, actually, as far as you mean just my writing, or you mean writing in general, like my songwriting, anything?
Anything like when you write poetry, because that's usually where music comes from, is your poetry. Is there a spot that you pick, or does it just come to you?
Well, right here where I am right now in my self-made studio here, I
Hmm.
do everything here. I got I do my music on one side, my podcast and my writing on the other side. I record my music over here, I mix it over here. So I got, I'm back and forth, but basically, to be honest with you, people ask me this question a lot, and I tell them it depends on where I am and what comes into my head at the time. I could be driving down the street, and you don't know how many songs that I have written. I have written a
Mm-hmm.
whole entire song while driving from one place to another.
Mm,
And I usually just use my cell phone if something comes into my head, lyrics,
mm-hmm.
and I put a melody to it. Sometimes I don't even put a melody to it. I'll just recite the lyrics on my cell phone and
Mm-hmm.
record it. And then when I come home, I'll work on it.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as stories are concerned, poetry, yeah, I base a lot of stuff on my life and pain and suffering and stuff that I've been through and what I go through in life. And I
Mm-hmm.
try to, a lot of people call me charismatic because I like to try to base my stuff on things where I can help people and
Mm-hmm.
I can talk to people and from experience and tell them this is the way I've lived my life, and maybe if you can do it this way, maybe my lyrics or my music or my books or anything can help you.
Right. Well, you know what? I like to tell people this is how I screwed up, so don't do it that way. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you talk about your writing process, like for songwriting, like it could be anywhere. We just did an interview with Dominic Fortuna, who's another musician, and and he said, yeah, the process of writing a book is very vastly different than that of writing a song. He said like a song is like a quick experience, whereas a book is like a long planned out. It's like maybe a book is a little bit more like the making of an album, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. in a way, is what he was kind of saying. So it's interesting that you say that same thing. Um, and so, but I mean, one of the obvious questions would be, if you're writing songs and you're writing books, um, is it there a chance that maybe if you might at some point explore writing a screenplay for a musical or something?
I have definitely thought about that, and actually, I tried writing one, and I'm trying write one right now, and I'm wondering if, like Joey said, I'm wondering if The Christmas Stranger would be a good screenplay for a screenplay, because I
Yeah.
know someone who does screenplays, and he's got all kinds of movies out all over the world, this guy. And I want to see if I could try to hook up with him and see if maybe I could send him, because I can
Hmm.
make it longer. I can always change things in it if I have to make it like a movie or a play or something. But
Yeah.
yes, I've definitely thought about it.
Hmm.
um, I feel there's not enough Christian things out there as far as
Hmm.
screenplays and things are concerned. Then I know I could write something if I put my mind to it. But that's definitely something I would definitely like to explore.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
the
you
the
know what? If
1.8 billion Christians certainly are underrepresented when it comes to content. That's certainly true. Yeah.
right, and you
Sorry.
know what? If you don't try, you've already failed. So you might as well try. And the worst that's going to happen, they're going to say no. Okay.
That's right.
And then you
Yeah.
That's
try
right.
with somebody else. You try, and then, okay, it's not working out. So then you say, okay, I'm going to try a different approach or a different storyline. Now,
Mhm.
you do have a book that you're working on, right? That's coming out. I don't know when, but it's a poetry book.
Yes, I'm on a deadline of February. It's very hard right now because I'm actually working on a new song and an album.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to finish this book first, but everything is probably going to be released around the same time. So I'm going to do like one big promo, just
That's
like
right.
Yeah.
release
Very good.
everything at once. Lisa Marie
Well,
Nicole music, just release everything. It's called Poetry for the Soul by Lisa Marie Nicole. So I actually rhymed the title also.
Mhm.
hmm
I'm looking at the middle of March. My poetry book is going to be a lot different than most poetry books. My poems are basically straight to the point. They're not like things you have to look up in a dictionary to
hmm
find out what you're talking about. My
hmm
poems are basically more like songwriting. So what I'm doing also is I'm adding a whole section of my lyrics, my song lyrics to the book.
Oh, nice.
So, so everybody's in for a surprise because the end of my book is going to have a whole entire section of my songs.
Nice.
I have too many songs. I can't put them all in there, but I put the best ones with the best lyrics that I
Hmm.
know people would like to. And then if they like to hear the song version of the poem, they can go and check it out on all the streaming sites.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There's a poetry book by Gord Downey that's made in that same way. He's the lead singer from a band called the Tragically Hip, who's now deceased, but he did a lot of haiku in concert,
Oh
and
yeah.
very poetic, and so he did basically essentially what you're saying is mostly it was the poems that the songs came from, because all of their melodies were written by the lead guitarist, um, and all the lyrics were written by him, and so every single song that he ever wrote for with them came from a poem. So he released all of those poems, and
Hmm.
in like it's like 120 poems. But uh, but yeah, it was a really interesting book. So yeah, I would probably something that I would definitely look into getting and sit on the shelf next to Gord's book.
Oh, that's good to know. Well, the thing
Yeah.
with poetry is I started out first with poetry and then I got into songwriting, but I took some of my poems and just changed them and made them into songs. But not all of them were made into songs. A lot of my poems are based on everyday things like dogs, faith,
Hmm.
suppression, death. I mean, everything. All of my poems is something in there for somebody to relate to in this
Yeah.
world. So
Yeah.
I have different sections and different chapters that say which each chapter of the poems are about. Some have four, some have like 10, some have 50. So, they're all different. And
Hmm.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that it does well because this is another thing I wanted to do also was put out poetry.
Right.
Well, I had a question about that. So when you write poetry, because I've written some poetry, when you convert it into music, do you have to change the words or sometimes have to change up your original poem for the song, or do you try to keep it exactly how you wrote it
Oh, no,
initially?
definitely. You have to change it, especially
Mm-hmm.
if it's more relevant for today. Like if I
Mm-hmm.
wrote a poem 25 years ago and I want to make it into a song for today, you're going to have to change some things in it, especially if you
Mm-hmm.
have dates in there or things that happened already, or like United We Stand, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
United We Stand was a poem I wrote for 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And that poem I wrote in I think I wrote it the week of 9/11. That poem got published up in Jersey in a couple of newspapers and
Mm-hmm.
at the airport area. That published poem was published with two other ones. And then I let that sit there. I mean, I just let it sit there for a while. I never did anything with it, that song.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that poem. And then I waited all this time, and then in when did I release that? 23? I think it was it 23 or 24? I don't even remember when I released it. I think it was 24.
Mm-hmm.
I released it in April 1st. I took the poem when I started getting into songwriting. I said, you know what, this would be a great song. Let me look at it. And I had to change it because it was only like this big, it didn't
Mm-hmm.
have much in it. So I changed it and I went over it and I put a chorus in. I actually took the part of the poem that was the best part, made a chorus out of it. Then I just added a bunch of other stuff, changed the theme to the song about 15 times. It was country, it was pop, it was this, it was that. And then I
Mm-hmm.
went into the studio, got together with my musician, and we came up with what it is, was more like rock based. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it came out great. I mean, I'm not saying that for myself. It's won so many awards, and it's my number one multi-award winning song right now. So because I took that poem that sat on the shelf for all those years, and I knew that it was the time to put it out because they really need this. I felt the world really needed it right now, and it would try to bring unity to the world. So when I put that song out, it was streamed, I think, 4,000 times in one day in New York City.
Mm,
So I know who it was connecting with, and it still is. Every day I'm getting streams on this song every day.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
that's awesome.
What's the hardest part of your creative process, or what do you think is the hardest part of the creative process?
Uh, Trying to be different. I don't want to be like everybody else. I know I'm different. I know.
Originality.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
originality. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be original. I mean, I think I am. I mean, I've had people tell me that I don't sound like other people. I
Mm-hmm.
try to combine rock with my Christian background and my faith, and I also like to do ballads. I like to change everything, but that's one of the things that I don't struggle with because I try to just use what I was blessed with and who I am. But
Mm-hmm.
distractions around you a lot. A lot of things in life, distractions. you know, I told you that guys that I suffer from pain. So a lot of times that if the pain gets in the way of me doing things and me writing, but sometimes if I don't let it get to me mentally, it's some of the best material I've ever come out with when I suffer.
Leonard Cohen said, "Never suffer casually,"
Yeah.
and that's a poet. That
Mm-hmm.
guy. Um,
That's
it's interesting I think it's interesting and honest when you say that when the first challenge that you thought of was originality. It's great because I think a lot of people don't understand the challenge of maintaining originality and how much we're influenced by people and the sort of delicate balance that it can be to have inspirations without ending up sounding the same. And then the other element, um, which the three of us can probably really resonate with, is that there's a greed element. There's an
Mhm.
easier way to do it that would probably be more financially beneficial short term, um, and that would be like a greedy path. That would be like something that I'm sure would face all of us. There's a point where we go, well, I could just sell out, and maybe that's valid, and maybe you win that, but I don't think you do. I think in the end, that's a loss. So, um, I think that's a really interesting point. I'm glad that was the one that you chose to be the biggest challenge. I think that's the first time we've gotten that answer, and I think it's the most honest and correct one.
Wow,
Oops.
that's good to know.
Shout out to the folks on TikTok. 25 years on TikTok.
Wow.
Lacey, thank you for the compliment. And not so many on YouTube. You TikTok people have to get over to YouTube and help out a little bit.
Mhm.
Joey, go ahead,
Well,
buddy.
it might be too early too over there, but over here,
It
right?
could be. It could be. Yeah,
It's cold Saturday. I don't know.
that's right.
Lisa, you have an album coming out, Ascending Journey, in the spring of 2025 this year. Um, those songs or any of those in your poetry book that you
Um,
planning on coming out at the same
there's
time?
going to be several new songs in this album that I
Mhm.
didn't record yet. There's some of them were recorded, like United We Stand is going to be in this
Mhm.
album because that was recorded and it was never in an album. There's
Mhm.
singles, the singles that I put out the end of the year were never in an album. So some of those will be like Life's a Song of Faith and Glory,
Mhm.
United We Stand, Only
Is
Jesus, my new one. They'll be in this album, plus a couple other ones that I'm going to be recording also that will be in there.
So I asked you before the show if you could bring your guitar. Do you have something that you could play us from that album? Maybe United We Stand, that's your big hit. The Jesus one that's new. Anything?
Um, well, these songs I usually use my background tracks though. I don't play with them
Oh, okay. Well, you got a
because,
guitar there. You got something you could play for us on the show. You'd
well,
be the
I can
first
play.
person that would be playing a song on our podcast. You're the very first one.
Okay. Well, I got one of my songs, Pass It
No
On.
pressure.
This is off Pass It On is off my Beyond Blessed album, which is won 3 awards in 23, twenty
Hmm.
four actually. This past year I won 3 awards at the end of the year actually. This album won. So
Okay.
I can play this one
Well,
for you. It's
all right. So what we'll do is I'm gonna get our cameras off, so it's just on you. Okay.
Can you hear this?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
All right, go for it.
Well, this is just the acoustic version of it because when this came out, the original track is more like country. It's got all the country stuff in it, but I'm just gonna play it, the acoustic version of it. Hold on a minute. Let me just make sure this is tuned. This is called Pass It On. We are all created in the image of Christ to love God and everyone for the rest of our lives. So let His light shine all over your face to spread throughout all the human race. Pass it on, pass it on, keep it going. Spread the love that you are showing to stranger enemies, family and friends. No one is perfect, we're all fighting sin. Pass it on. Forgive the person that broke your heart. It's you that will have a fresh start. Go up to a lonely soul and lay it down. Give them a smile instead of a frown. Pass it on. Pass it on. Keep it going. Spread the love that you are showing to stranger enemies, family and friends. No one is perfect, we're all fighting sin. Pass it on. The cashier at the corner store, the girl at the drive-thru looking for more, the homeless man out on the street, to the cop that's walking out on the beat. all the love that you have earned. Spread it all throughout the world. Pass it on. Pass it on. Keep it going. Spread the love that you are showing to stranger enemies, family and friends. No one is perfect, we're all fighting sin. Pass it on, pass it on. Keep sharing God's love and the hatred is gone. Let it shine all throughout your heart. Together this world will make another start. Pass it on, His love is showing. Pass it on, let's keep it going. Pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. The love of Jesus, pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. His heart is freed us, pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. Let's keep it going, pass it on, pass it on. Pass it on. Your love is showing. Pass it on. Pass it on. Pass it on.
Nice.
Wow, I liked it. You know what? One of my favorite lines in that song was "Forgive the person that broke your heart." I thought
Yeah.
that kind of hit me hard right there. You know,
Yep. Yep.
Well,
Absolutely.
we're
very good.
supposed to.
Take your agency back.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
don't forget,
What?
if you forgive somebody, you're actually helping yourself. You're
Yeah.
freeing
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. My grandpa used to say, if you can make them laugh, then they're not laughing at anybody else, at least.
It's not easy though, but
Yeah. What a lovely vibrato you have there. From one vibrato to another. That's really,
thank you.
really, really
You
well
know,
managed.
I never realized I had one until people keep telling me I do. So now I listen
Mhm.
to myself when I sing. I'm like, I didn't really know I had one until people told me I did.
That's good. That means
Right.
it's natural, right? Yeah,
So
that's natural. Mine's usually stuck in D. I don't visit the high places quite as often as you, but
Mhm.
I know what it's like to try to manage that thing.
Well, I like the minor keys. I'm sure you could tell that.
Yeah, yeah,
I love
yeah,
the minor keys. That's what I
yeah.
sing in.
you have other books you said and ideas, things that you have like on your back burner or whatever you want to call it. If you could collaborate with any author with your work, who would it be?
Oh God.
I know that's a good one.
I don't know. I like I mean if you want to talk about my past, I used to be into horror. So I actually used to read a lot of horror books.
Okay.
I used to read when I was growing up. I used to love reading like stuff, but I like more like stuff as later on in life I used to stop reading that stuff and I started reading stuff about the supernatural,
Hmm.
which is what I believe in.
Hmm.
And I like Dean Koontz.
Mm.
I mean, I've read everyone, and since he's a big dog lover also, and
Hmm.
he writes stuff about dogs, which
Hmm.
is one of my books I'm working on.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting to write something with him.
I read the Odd Thomas. I read like
Yeah.
from his I read like three of those, Brother Thomas and or
Hmm.
Brother Odd, whatever it was. I read like three of his books and they were all very
Yeah,
good. But they were all the Odd Thomas series. I haven't read anything else from
He
him.
yeah.
has that new one
I like
now.
all.
What was the new one, Jay? The new one he just put out a while ago.
I don't know.
Mhm.
You don't
I
know
don't
him?
know. I can find it. Oh no, I know Dean Koontz. Yeah, like I've
Oh
been
no.
reading that since The
Um.
Talisman was the first one I read
Oh yeah,
way
yeah. I remember that. No.
was I ever a kid then.
I can't think of the name of it. It's something about. It was something about uh, some kind of uh, island that this person lived on an island by herself, and they were doing. The government was experimenting on something, and they
Mhm.
created these monsters or something that got loose. It sounds like a typical book that he writes.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't think of the name of it. It was pretty good though.
Do
There's
you
so in 2024, Dean Koontz released The Forest of Lost Souls.
That's not it. Maybe it
No,
was 23.
That's
maybe it's 20. The house at the end of
That's
the
it. That's it. The house
at
at
the
the
end
end
of the
of
world.
the hill or something. That's it. That's the
Yeah,
one.
okay.
mm,
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting. You know, it's funny because I really don't read too much anymore because I'm so busy. And people ask me that, how do you know who's out there? How do you, it's hard for me to really sit down and read somebody else's book when I'm writing my own and I'm writing music and I'm doing, every my podcast. That I got so much going on that it's really hard for me to just sit down and write. But
mhm.
I like to read a lot. I like to read a lot of religious stuff. I read the Bible. I like to read the guy I just had on my podcast, Catholic Joe. That was a really good book. I read that. I read a lot of religious stuff too, a lot. I focus more on that now. Keeps
Well,
my mind free.
give a shout out to your podcast. Where can people find that?
Rockin' for God podcast was actually on last night. That was
Mhm.
my other, uh, that
On
was the
YouTube.
one I had on. It's on YouTube. It's on Lisa Marie Nicole Music on Facebook. It's on Podbean. We use Podbean now.
Mhm.
And Spotify, Apple, Amazon. It's streamed on all of those sites. I actually embed the video on my website also for people, so it draws
Oh
them
yeah.
to it.
Mhm.
I haven't done that yet with this one, but I have to edit it and everything, and then I'll do it. But
The description of this video, as soon as we're done live, as soon as the video actually uploads to YouTube, then the link to Lisa Marie's socials are in the
thank you,
description,
Yeah,
thank you.
and her book.
That I
I found it.
appreciate.
absolutely.
I
Yeah,
can't
absolutely.
believe people are still. I'm really surprised because I really thought because it's a Christmas story that it wouldn't be, but people are starting to buy it now.
Mhm.
I noticed people are downloading it more now, so maybe it's starting to get out there. I guess the
I
more I
think
promote it, the better.
I think the world is a little more optimistic now than it has been since 2019, 2018. I
Mhm.
think I think I think I see a lot of optimism, and I think that's where
Me
it
too.
starts, is that people actually stop wanting to be miserable and start looking for good stories to read that won't make them feel miserable. And
Mhm.
because that's really where it starts. Like, you decide if you want to be miserable or not. Anybody can overcome anything if they decide to accept that which they can't change.
Mhm.
Then they can become optimistic again. And
Exactly.
I really do see that in the world. I actually see that. I saw yesterday in town here, I saw a guy wearing a white t-shirt with just black letters that said, "The future looks bright." That's it. Nothing
That's
else, no
great.
picture, just "the future looks bright." And I thought, wow, that's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, I
Mhm.
like to see more of that. I mean, that's what my music is basically about too, is to try to
Yeah,
bring happiness and joy into the world also,
yeah,
and also with God, bring people to God, know that he's there and he's always will be, and that, there is hope for this world. I
Mhm.
believe
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I've always felt that too. I always felt you should never and totally judge somebody by their worst day, um, and decide that that's their sum total value, right? And
Mhm.
just like people, there's a small percentage of people that are very, very bad.
Hmm.
Overall, people are just trying to get by, and most people are just doing the best with whatever situation they have every day. And so, the human spirit isn't an ugly and gross thing at all. It's just human beings like to pay attention to negative and to
Mhm.
ignore positive. It's just how we're wired, right? Like, it's
Well,
it's
you
in
know,
our DNA.
we don't know what anybody's really going through in their life anyway, like we
That's right.
unless you share it with us. Like we don't know that Lisa what you're going through with your dog unless you post it on Facebook, right?
Hmm.
And you did, right? So that's how I know what's going on with your dog because it just had something removed, right? A
Yeah,
tumor.
he just had a non-cancerous, it was like pre-cancer cyst removed. He's doing really good, but thank
Good,
you. And
good.
just to clarify, I don't post things on Facebook to get attention because I know a lot of people do that. I do that because I have such a large following of Christianity and I
Mhm.
want people to pray for me. So
Mhm.
when I do post things on Facebook, it's not like I'm looking for attention. I want 1,000 likes.
Mhm.
I always say I'm looking for prayers. I'm looking for
Mhm.
people to pray for this situation. I don't put really private stuff on there. I mean, people post stuff there from the time they get up in the morning till the time they go to bed at night, the whole day. I don't do that. If there's
Mhm.
something
Yeah.
I really need to pray for, like if my health, my mom's health, or something in my life that I need prayers for, I have a lot of people out there that are pastors, they're priests, they're bishops, they're whatever. They include my name in their masses and their prayer. I mean, that's what I want, and that's why I do that. You know,
Mhm.
but yeah, that's good because that way people know. Like everybody was praying for Danny, and he's doing very well, thank God, right now.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great, and that's a better use of social media than the people who go around trying to ferret out everybody's wherever everybody's wrong and then smash
Uh,
them in the head with it. Um,
Mhm.
it's certainly less productive than what you're talking about, which is real to real human connection and stewardship, I guess, in a sort of way, because
yeah.
it's good for somebody to say, this is the tough situation I'm in. Please pray for me. And then what's attached to that is at the end is, if this happens to you, this is the appropriate, or this is one way you can get through it.
Hmm.
Um, that maybe is a little less painful for you,
Mhm.
or gets you through the pain faster, whatever, right? And so there's an example. There's a leadership by example is a strong way to lead, I would say. And you know, relevant to the podcast here, I would say that writers in general, creators, are the people who lead by example. They don't get up on a soapbox and scream to the masses or take people to court or anything like that. They just produce something, they
Hmm.
create something and say, there, do that, and too bad more people don't take the example, right?
I saw one time when things were really bad in this world a while ago, and somebody said, "I hate Facebook. I don't know why I'm on it anymore. All you people that are on here that are artists and Christians, you shouldn't be on here." Blah blah blah. I says to them, "I use my Facebook for God's will." I said, I
Mhm.
use it for my ministry and for my writing and to reach people. I don't come on here and post all kinds of stupid things like a lot of people do. That's what I said. Everybody left Facebook for a while and other social media because they were offended by everything everybody's saying. Guess what? You could clear, that's what news feed is for. You clear your news feed. Get rid of people that are destroying your life and that are
Mhm.
depressing you or
Mhm.
that are saying things about you that they shouldn't be saying. That's what you unfriend people for, you know?
Mhm.
And since I did that, my whole news feed is all positive stuff. It's all
Mhm.
positive. I refuse to put anything negativity on my news feed because I'm trying to live the best life I can to help spread the message and the gospel of the Lord. And in order for
Mhm.
me to do that, I need to have positivity, not negativity.
Yeah.
So that's
You know
why I
what?
do
You're a lot nicer about it than I would have been. I would have been like, "Hey, yo, it ain't none of your business. Check yourself before you wreck yourself." For real.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Lisa. Your book, I'm going to go back to The Christmas Stranger.
that.
It's
Okay.
available on Amazon, on Kindle, paperback. It's $11.30. Um, you published it on October 15th, 2024. So, yeah, there it is. And we're going to post a little, when Jay goes back to put the edited version up. He'll post that picture so it's clear. But you published
Okay.
it October 15th, 2024, and I'm curious, was that a strategic reason why you published a Christmas story 2 months before Christmas, or
Exactly.
did it
That's
just
why.
happen? Yeah, you don't want to
No,
publish a Christmas story in April,
no, I definitely,
right?
this was my first, well, this was my first story, and I actually released one of my, I don't remember which song it was. One of my other songs I released the day after I released the book. So
Mm-hmm.
the book was released on October 15th, and the song was released October 16th.
Hmm.
So I think that was only Jesus. I think that was the new one I had, the most recent one. And so I wanted to, I rushed it, not rushed it, but I got it together fast as I can. And we had it released
Mm,
so that way it would come out for Christmas. And I'm glad I
mm,
did that because I got a really good response,
mhm,
like right before the holidays. Like I put together like a, I did two book signings and I put together a basket, like a little thing, and I had a book, two CDs, my
mhm,
business card, like a scripture bracelet and all kinds of stuff, and it was like a Christmas special with the book and my CD. So I had my
mhm,
music and my book together. So, that's what I want to do because my music is shows a lot. I write almost every one of my songs. I wrote one song that I did not write. Every one of my songs I wrote. So
mhm.
I want people to know my songwriting ability as with everything, with also, I'm that first. I'm a writer first before I am a vocalist or an artist. So I
Mhm.
want people to see that first in me.
I want to ask you about your book signing because I've had bad luck at book signings. Like not very many, and I've tried it at different places, right? So, for example, one of the places I did it at a bookstore, a local independent bookstore, and had a few people show up. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it at this grocery store in the cafe on a Saturday, right? It's going to be busy. Tour buses come there. I think three people came that whole
Oh
day.
my,
Like the cafe was empty for hours, and I thought, oh my God, I'm just bad luck. How did you have success at your book signing, your two book signings?
not the second one. The first
Hmm.
one I did somewhat. I mean, and the way I looked at it was I wasn't there to sell 50 books. I was there to get my name out.
I was
And
there to sell 50 books.
well, no, of course I was. I would love to sell my CDs and my books, which I did
Right,
some. But
right.
I gave my business cards out. People knew who I was. Some people see this was in my town. They know me already. So a lot of people know me in my town already. They know me as an
Mm,
artist. So they were like,
mhm,
"Oh, you wrote a book, really?" So a lot of people now know me as an author.
mhm,
So when I went to the second book signing, which was this was two libraries. The
mhm,
library was like off the beaten path, and there wasn't like a lot of traffic that day. So I don't know if it was just a bad day or what it was, or maybe that just was library wasn't good.
mhm,
Like it was a good library, but it wasn't good traffic.
mhm,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've done flea markets. I've actually done flea. I'm going to do another one when the spring comes. It's not 26 degrees. I am not doing a flea
right,
market.
yeah.
So I will do flea markets. You can do like festivals. You got to remember too, I have an advantage because when I perform and I do like concerts and stuff, I set up my books at my concerts also.
Mm,
So people see my CDs and they also see, oh, good, I'm a writer too. So now when I have
mhm,
my other book out, I'll put both of them there. So I don't know. I mean, you got to find ways to draw people. I mean, try more promoting locally.
mhm,
You know what? I even put my name in the newspaper. I put my name in the local newspaper, said, new book coming from Christian recording artist. And, we did that. There's in my church, my
mhm,
church, I did that. I let everybody know that I had it. My podcast, I also advertised it every single show I did. I said, now an author. I have a book coming out.
mhm.
I don't know. I
But
mean, I haven't done a bookstore. I don't even know where there is a bookstore here.
so I can tell you,
Send it
you
into Charlie Kirk. Um,
Yeah, right.
send a copy to Charlie Kirk. Send a copy to Michael Moles.
Give me
mhm.
some
You never
address, brother.
you never
But
know.
Give
you
me
know
wherever
what?
you want. I'll send
You
them to anybody. Just get.
Here's the thing, you definitely I can't go along with my boyish good looks and charming personality forever, but I've done like what Jay said. I look up like I had a screenplay that I wrote and I looked up Ron Howard, Mel Gibson, all these people, Oprah Winfrey, because you get on her Book of the Month club. There's
Oh
a whole
God.
different demographic, right? Whatever, whoever buys the book, that's all I care about, right? So I did the research and I look up, and I know Oprah's not getting my mail, and I know Ron Howard's not getting my mail, but his people are, right? And if his people like it or they kind of dig what I've done, they'll pass it along, So far,
Mhm.
I haven't heard nothing So maybe
Yeah.
nobody really digs it, but at least, like I told you at the beginning of the podcast, at least I tried. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
I did some graphics for a publishing company
Hmm.
um when I was in New York, uh 2009. So some cover arts and stuff. And the funny thing that they said, I was talking to the one lady who was there. She was an editor, and I was talking to her about the book industry and stuff. And she said, the one thing that people don't get is we do actually want to read them all. We want to read all of the books, um, you know, but it's going to take us a long time to get through them. And so, what one thing they said was, you would be amazed at how many months or even years a manuscript can sit around, and then
Wow.
somebody just happens to open it.
Mm.
Because the people who are reading scripts, who are reading books, who are reading um, plays and stuff, um, they actually are very curious and into it, and and they'd like to be randomly scared like that. I guess they like to
Hmm.
have the creativity sneak up on them, if you will. And so, I would say to everybody, just broadcast it everywhere, and also, I mentioned Charlie Kirk and Michael Knowles, and like, while you can't reach those people individually, what they do for a living, like Michael Knowles has pretty much the biggest book review there is, and what they do is they do want to showcase books, and so there is a probably a chain of custody and like four different filters you have to get through before you get to them. But I think the more you send the work out, especially now with email and digital, and you're not paying for stamps and everything,
All
I
right.
think the more that you bombard people with, the better. Almost everybody, if you scroll to the bottom of almost any website, you'll find contact us, and there will be an email address there.
I do it
Send,
all the time. I do it.
yeah,
And what you were saying about screenplay and writing, it's the same thing with music because I can put out an album like my first album. I got some really good songs on my first album. A lot of people never heard this music.
Hmm.
It's on all my streaming sites, but a lot of people want to hear new music. They don't listen to the music that's been out for 15 years or whatever, that is really good music that to them is new. So
yeah,
that's why I try to promote my older music from like 2018, which really isn't that old, but you know, some of my songs are really good from years ago, and people need to hear my older music because I've been sending my music to like Michael White, like the God's Not Dead series.
Hmm.
I told you that the other day, and I talked to him. He knows me, and I told him, listen, I says I have so many Christian contemporary songs that any one of them can be good for one of your movies. And even we were even talking about Angel Studios, and a lot of places that I haven't really contacted anybody major in that place that I can talk to about that. But that's going to be my break, is for
yeah.
somebody to take one of my songs and say, I want to put it in a movie.
Hmm.
If they're not going to
Yeah.
use my writing, I would love for them to use one of my songs at least, and maybe
Hmm.
even both. Who knows? One day.
That would be cool. Like if somebody's like in the movie, they're in their car, and that's the music playing in the
Yep.
car is your song, not just
Yeah.
as like an intro or an exit, but like within the movie itself.
That would be
That would be
awesome.
cool.
That would be awesome. I
Epis-
pray for that.
Epistolary, I think they call it. In books, they call it epistolary anyway. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what it is in movies when they do that, when they have the layered crossover thing.
Yeah, I
You
don't know either.
most poets, as yourself, usually read poets. Is there a
Hmm.
favorite poet that you have? Who's your favorite poet?
Uh, I don't know. I read a lot of different poetry
Hmm.
over the years, but Eliot, I think I
T.S.
like a lot.
Eliot.
Yeah, I like a lot
Hmm.
of his stuff.
Hmm.
I don't really know. I don't know. I really don't
Hmm.
know too many poets that I read a lot of stuff like I sit there and read poetry from. But
Hmm.
I like a lot of like I don't know. I think I like a lot of people like me that are like independents, like independent
Hmm.
people that aren't like major famous people. I like reading because I am, that's why I started my podcast, because I know how it feels to be one of those people that are looking to promote themselves, and I like to help people. So I like to read. You'd be surprised how many people in this world that are unnoticed, that go unheard of, that are so good. And I'm not just talking about music. I'm talking about writing, anything. Like we have really good material that a lot of people haven't heard. And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that's why I like to really concentrate on the independent artists and writers and stuff like that, because they are really good stuff. I said, like I said, I read a lot of Catholic stuff, I read a lot of Christian stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Aquilina is a good author. I had him on my podcast. Brant Petrie, a lot of these people are speakers, they're public speakers, they're evangelists, theologians, but they write unbelievable stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, their books are unbelievable.
Mhm.
Who is your favorite poet?
Mine?
Zoe. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, if I had to pick one, only one, I like Allen Ginsberg. In he was
Yeah.
part of the Beat generation. That's kind of my thing though. You know, uh, that would be my favorite. Jay, do you have a favorite? Uh,
Poet?
yeah,
Yeah.
My favorite poet?
if you
Um,
have
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Gord Downey for sure. Yeah,
Oh,
Gord
for
Downey.
sure.
Absolutely.
You know what?
With-
I kind of like Cummings because
Yeah.
everything was in lowercase, and I thought that was always kind of cool that they did that just to mess with people. I guess I don't know,
Yeah,
like
Do you,
yeah.
oh my God, they lowercased his name, they lowercased this and
Like for contemporary, for classic poets, I would say probably T.S. Eliot would be mine.
mm,
But
that's what I said. Do,
yeah,
do you guys remember years ago when they used to have those online poetry websites and stuff? Like I was on
yeah.
poets.com, and what was the other one? Poetry something. I forget the name of it.
Poetry Hunter.
I don't remember. It was back
Hmm.
in had to be about 2007, 8, something like that. But
Yeah, early internet. Yeah.
poetry doc, yeah. Well, I was on this poetry thing, and
Hmm.
this is when I really got into poetry. And there was thousands of people on this site, and they would all read it, and then you would get like little medals, a
Hmm.
base, and you would go up the ladder to be like number one to like 500 million, whatever people were on it. And
Hmm.
I did really well on this. I would just throw out poems in there that I didn't publish, that, it was copyrighted in my name, but I would do that, and I would get so much feedback. And I was like, maybe I could do this, like these people
Hmm.
had really good material, and I remember all this stuff. I had got, I all, but they discontinued this website. It's not around anymore. But I
Yeah.
have this book. It's called The International Who's Who in Poetry. And I
Hmm.
submitted my song, my poem, and it's on the first page. They published it. This
Paid
is
for it.
Oh, awesome.
this is my poem called Soldier, and I'm
Hmm.
actually working on it with another artist to make this into a song. So I changed this whole thing up, but this is copyrighted, and this is the first poem that I have published as a poet. So,
Beautiful.
and then
Nice.
I have that, and then I made this myself, Poetry by Lisa Marie Nicole, and this
Mm,
is all my poems that I wrote over the years that I
mm,
usually like it was like just a make-believe poetry book. I didn't publish it,
Yeah.
and then I have all of these. Well, all of these poems are in my poetry book that's coming out. I
Have,
just,
have you have you ever done a poetry slam, like
so
in
I should
person?
what?
A poetry slam, like where you go and read your poem, spoken word, on a stage in front of people?
No, I haven't. He asked me
Yeah,
that.
neither have I.
You haven't done it either?
No, I went, and this was several years ago. I went to one all ready to do it, and then I got stage fright, so somebody else went up and read it for
Did
me.
you really? Do
Yeah.
people judge you? Like, do they? Are they? How is the crowd?
Uh, the crowd that I was with, and at the time I was in my low 40s, and the crowd was in their 20s, so I felt kind of out of place, you know?
But were they having fun?
Oh, yeah, they were having fun. It's Southern California. They always have fun down there.
That's true. That's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I have 127 pieces of art that I've made since 2011, I think, and I've slowly over time been whittling away at making a poem for each one of those, and then putting that out in
Oh,
a book.
with the artwork.
127 pages with one piece of art and one poem on every book. So
Mm,
maybe one
nice,
day.
nice.
well,
What size poetry book do you think is good, Lisa? Like
Yeah,
how
that's a
many
me?
good
pages? Do
question.
you want a 400-page poetry book or a 20-page
Nah,
poetry
I
book?
need that.
I'm starting out at like 150 pages. This
Mm,
one that's coming out now, because you
mm,
got to remember, I don't. A lot of times, that's a different group of people. Not
mm,
everybody likes poetry, and it's not for
mm,
everybody. In fact, I've had people buy my books that say, "What's your next book? Is poetry?" I'm not into that. I'm like, "Yeah, but listen, give me a chance." I said, because I
right,
got my song lyrics in there. I got
right.
stuff in there that is different. It's not like
Mm,
just straight up poetry. I have like I'm making it to attract people. I'm doing a little different, I got uh my poem, and then I got a whole story of how I wrote the poem and how you can apply it in your life. The words in this poem, how you can go about applying that poem in your life. Because a lot of my poems are religious, not all of them, some of
mm,
them. But I wrote basically like almost everyone in here. I can't believe, like you said to me before, how many did I turn into a song? I didn't
mm,
realize how many I did. I mean, like the one "Mama, I Love You," I wrote that from my mom.
mm.
And I just one day picked up a guitar and I'm looking at the lyrics and I said, this would be a great country song. And, me, Jersey girl, I'm like, I don't know how I could sing country music, but I
Mhm.
did. I made it work, and it's won a couple of awards and everybody loves it. Have you ever heard that? Have you heard my song, "Mom, I Love You"?
We could live right now if you played
It's on
like
my
maybe.
YouTube channel. I wrote it
Oh,
from
there
my
you
mom.
go.
I wrote it
Okay.
for my mom, and everybody's been dedicating it to their mother, and I play it every year on Facebook. I mean, on
Okay.
Facebook, the video's good.
Mhm.
All right. Well, so if people want to see that, go to your YouTube page,
Yeah.
go to your Facebook page, look for Lisa Marie Nicole on that. I don't have any more questions. You've given us a plethora of information. Jay, do
Hmm.
you have anything? You like that word, plethora?
Yeah, that's great. I love that word.
Yes. Thanks. Copious, whatever. Cornucopia. There's a lot of words.
Yeah. Yeah. Old romance. You tend towards the old romance words, Joe. I've noticed
Right.
that with you
A
This is
gaggle
my
of information.
songbook.
because you're
These
Italian,
are all
right?
the
Like
Right.
songs.
Oh
This
I
is
wow.
all
go.
the
Are those?
songs I've written.
Oh wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh,
That's a
That's
doozy.
why I keep
Well,
dropping it on the floor.
I think it's time for everybody's favorite part. What's your favorite or give us a quote, a direct quote from anybody, please,
inspirational anything.
All right. Hmm.
or grab something out of there. Read a chorus for us from that book,
Ooh yeah.
From which one?
from the one
Anything.
you're holding,
All right. Let me see.
the one with the papers in the face. And I'll read the chorus from a song that I wrote
Oh,
a
right
few
on.
years ago. Uh,
Nice.
you'll never see the sun chase the moon from the sky, and you'll never hear the stars tell a lie. But the truth is that the prophet inhabits empty pockets when all of humanity cries.
Ooh.
Wow, that's
Jay
nice.
Jay Shaw. You can find him on Facebook, X, Twitter.
And you got to do that in your head though. You have to kind of do it with a Chris Stapleton type of way. You never saw the moon chase the sun.
Ooh.
Like that. That's
Ooh.
how you'd work that around in your head.
Right.
I'm trying to find one. I mean, I got so many songs here. I'm trying to find one
Wh-
that.
While you're still looking, I'll do my quote while you're looking. Usually I try to pick something out of a book, but I thought this particular quote would go along more with the podcast and what we were focused on. And it says, "Poets are damned, but see with the eyes of angels," by Allen Ginsberg. My favorite poet.
Ginsberg. I
Yeah,
knew it was Ginsberg.
how did you know I was gonna pick my favorite poet to quote from today?
Oh no, there's a movie. There's a movie, and Ginsberg is a bit of a baddie in the movie, and he's doing bad stuff, and the guy's like Ginsberg. I knew it was Ginsberg.
How
You
about
got
I read
something?
one? How about I read one of my poems?
Absolutely, go for it.
All right, let me see. I'll read. I wanted to try to read one that was going to be in the book, but
Hmm.
I have my one about. I have tons of ones about my dogs, but the one about my dog I made into a song, and this is Soldier. This is the one that was published, and I'm going to make a song out of.
Hmm.
He sits there alone on the front line, arms crossed in front of him, rifle next to his heart. He listens to the sound of the war. A freshly made wound bleeds down his leg. He has battle scars on his body as well as his soul. There are things he has seen that will never be forgotten. His friends lie dead in front of him. His will is strong. He has a mission. Once completed, he can look into the eyes of his newborn son. His wife awaits his embrace. The enemy waits for his presence. He is not alone. A higher power controls the reins. He is strong. He is loyal. He is an American soldier.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Lisa
Beautiful.
Marie Nicole. Check her out on YouTube, her podcast channel, which will include. Check her out on Facebook. She's got great posts. And check out her
Yeah.
book on Amazon, The
Yeah.
Christmas Stranger.
And
And
all
please
of
leave
those
me a
things.
review. Thank you.
Yeah, and all of those things you'll be able to do in just a couple hours on this video. For
Once
whatever
Jay
reason,
does his
YouTube will have to.
magic.
No, YouTube just won't do that while it's live.
Mm.
They'll just
Well,
put it on there after.
this has been a lot of fun, and I want to thank both of you so much for
Oh,
having me on.
yeah, well,
Oh, you're
And
thank you
welcome.
for being on the
good
show.
luck. Good luck to both of you with all of everything in your future with your writing and everything.
You too.
Yes, thank you. We hope maybe in the future we could have you on the show once your
You too.
album comes out or another book comes out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, let me know.
Or the
My album,
musical.
my
The
book.
musical. I
Well,
would
you
Yeah,
prefer.
follow me. You both
I would
yeah,
follow me on
prefer. Yeah.
Facebook, so you'll know when
Yeah, that's right.
everything's out.
Yeah,
yeah. I'll harass you.
I'm waiting for a musical, so that's just put it
A
out there.
musical.
Yeah, I
Well,
want a
like
musical.
I said, let me know if you know anybody that wants any of my music. That would be
Yeah,
nice.
you
And
betcha.
thank you, Paisan.
Hey, thank you.
All right. Cheers, Lisa.
All right, guys, have a good weekend, okay? Thank you.
You too. All right.
All
Bye.
right,
Cheers.
God bless.
God bless.
You too. All righty.
And we're still recording.
I just hit stop.
Okay.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I forgot that the stop has a slight delay.
Mm.
It's annoying. Okay. So. Okay. Oh shit. That's why I didn't end. Fuck.
What? We didn't
Ah.
record any of that.
No. I was gonna. I was
Oh,
gonna tell them to go over to the Writers Lounge because I'm about to hit public on the first podcast right now. So I was
can
gonna
you
do
hit?
that
I guess you
live, and
can't. You can't hit record again or live again and like
no, it
have
would make
it.
a new one. It would make a whole
Damn.
new one, and then all the fuck around again. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
such an idiot.
All right. All right.
Fuck. Oh, that sucks. Oh well, it's fine. We'll do. Well, yeah, next time.
Right. Next
but
time.
I'm gonna go in and do that right now before I forget. So you know what, you were right. I think about. I ended up